Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're back for Season 2, Episode 2 of the House of the Dragon, dubbed RHAENYRA the Cruel. I'm very interested to see this episode as it will be following the kind of aftermath of the first one, which obviously had blood and cheese. So there's kind of I reckon there's going to be a lot going on both sides here. We're going to see a little bit of Aegon being a bit more vengeful, maybe a bit of Helaena kind of spiraling out of control. However, for Team Black, I'm not entirely sure. I think some of this conflict between Rhaenyra and Daemon is going to be seen this episode, as obviously Daemon did this without Rhaenyra's direct approval, and I doubt Rhaenyra would really condone the murder of a young child over her grief. So I think we're going to have a little bit of back and forth between those two there. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what kind of unfolds this episode. I do apologize for the lateness of this video. I had some personal things going on the Monday, so it's led to the releasing on the Tuesday. Anyway, I've waffled enough. Let's get into the actual episode. Ooh, we could potentially see Otto being removed as Hand this episode. Potentially.
What if we can't find him?
I do wonder if we're going to get any more expanding on that line. So what if we can't find him? Like, are we going to find out if Daemon said anything else, or is it just kind of left to presumption? Interested to know where we're going to directly pick up from. I think we're probably going to see it more on the Green's perspective, but I'm interested to know who we're going to see first. Absolute kind of... Oh, you got your armor on now, have you? Finally doing his damn job. Other than oh. Not to go there, Aegon. If we're going to call the traitor card, you did kind of betray Rhaenyra first. Not that it necessarily matters.
They will pay for this.
My main question: where were all the guards? Right in the there were no one. There was no one walking around. Like, I've seen a few theories that it's because Alicent had them removed so they wouldn't hear her affair. But
Whichever hand did this.
oh.
For what sake?
She removed the guards.
Instead of safeguarding the sanctity of my family.
This is not the time for blind.
It's a very, very valid point, actually, with Kristen.
Who did this?
Of this pretender to the throne.
It's a clever idea. I can't knock that. I mean, it's a good way to turn the small folk.
No, I will not have him die in vain.
He's already had his head lopped off in his cot. I don't.
Or will they rather not renounce her?
I don't wish to be a spectacle.
The realm must see the sorrow of the
Alicent, you confuse me. You're consenting to let your grandchild paraded through the streets headless, but you're not gonna be seen because that's making a spectacle of it. I don't know, that's kind of mad to me. Oh, my question is, where's Cheese? So they've caught blood, but I don't believe they've caught Cheese, and they've not actually said what's become of him. I believe in the books he kind of just disappears, so my guess is that he's probably gotten to Dragonstone and informed Daemon of what's kind of gone on, or either that, or Daemon or Rhaenyra or someone on Team Black of what's kind of happened. I mean, I can't help but admire the detailing on all the armor here. Like, that is really quite something. But honestly, to drag Helaena out the morning after to like watch her child getting paraded around is horrifying. I mean, it's a good way to try and turn the small folk against Rhaenyra. They've sewed his head back on. Jesus. I thought they'd just have them wrapped. I didn't think they'd show that. And Helena's got to stare at it. It's going to overstimulate and overwhelm the poor lass.
Taken in haste.
Mind yourself.
Rhaenys, I think, has kind of figured it out. I mean, we didn't see Daemon say anything, but like he did look quite suggestive. So
we come to it.
I think Rhaenyra's raised a valid point.
Not on my way even now to Harrenhal to raise an army in your name, Rhaenyra.
It's a really interesting way to look at Daemon, because he is one of the most kind of grey and complex characters. I'm excited to see more of Baela this season. Her and her sister, I think, are going to be quite valuable to Rhaenyra, and I'm excited to see.
My father
has made a comeuppance.
You must follow his own path.
For want of a better phrase. I think he might just storm off to the Riverlands to seize Harrenhal, I think, rather than do any more. I think he's off to the Riverlands. I mean, admittedly, it does kind of make sense. This whole kind of dynamic of conflict between him and Rhaenyra is certainly interesting, and I'm curious to see if there's any more that we see of it, I guess. Or at least I'm assuming he's going to Harrenhal. That's where I believe he's supposed to go next. Dude, I have to say, I think Rax's my favourite dragon is. Glorious design, and I love the kind of distinct roar. No move to comfort your wife. And sister, which admittedly makes it worse. I'm really taking down the cot. I hope you feel guilty. I mean, it's nice to know Kristen still has at least 1 ounce of decency remaining, so that's something. And it's really nice to see that Rhaenyra is following this more kind of complex narrative as opposed to just the kind of very black and white version we see in Fire and Blood, which, well, I assume that's due to the nature of how it's written. It's still nice to see.
The white cloak is a symbol of our purity, our fidelity.
And yours should be black then.
Kingsguard are a sacred tree. Who you so easily sully?
Chief hypocrite of hypocrites over here. I'm mildly curious as to what happened to the previous
Where
Lord
were you when
Commander.
Jaehaerys was murdered?
Oh, right, yeah, accusing someone else.
Where were you, Lord Commander? And why is Helena the Queen being granted no full protector? Surely once she ascended, she should have...
Brother is a thief and a traitor to the crown.
The audacity. The absolute audacity
You
on
won't
it.
know how it pays me.
It's interesting that it's Kristen telling him to do this, because in the books it's given under the impression that it's Aegon, so it's an interesting change.
You must not let that happen. You would send me to my death or to triumph.
I swear to God, every episode,
My lord.
the main writing prerogative is to make you hate this man more. It's outrageous. I'm just wondering how we've kind of managed to jump here. That's Aemond. Okay. Above such depravity, are you, Aemond? I'm interested to see these two and what the show makes of them. Ooh. Is that sea smoke? I think. Or at least it looks like sea smoke. Are they hanging the rat catchers? This probably won't go down well with the small folk. They can't exactly denounce Rhaenyra as Rhaenyra the Cruel and then mindlessly hang all the rat catchers. Yeah, so they actually got him. Oh, okay. I mean, Otto's not wrong, but this is dangerous.
And curse your name.
It's time the bitch queen paid a price.
The audacity.
You wouldn't dare.
He has, and he's doing it.
I have that.
I kind of, yeah. From Aegon's perspective, this is a smart move, given how just completely, essentially, just rude Otto's just being to him. Ooh.
A moment.
I left something back at the castle. We're seeing Eric and Eric. They really should have had some distinguishing features between the two Kingsguards.
Sir Eric.
Please tell me there's someone in with her. Where's her guard? Where are her guards? Sorry. The poor handmaid. Oh. Would it not be best to have a Kingsguard in the room with her?
Do not do this. I beg you.
Oh. Looks like Mushroom didn't have the true telling here.
Forgive me.
No! No!
Petty satisfaction of vengeance.
I don't think you really had the good of the realm in mind either.
Aegon is still malleable. It is the death of the child that has unstrung him.
Have a son there who'll take more kindly to instruction.
Ooh.
Daron may yet help
Daron's-
us to come.
We've got Daron. I didn't think we'd ever get Daron.
Sense to him.
Okay.
But we will yet prevail and bring forth peace, I still believe. As long as you and I hold fast.
You moron. The deludedness of this man. You're gonna turn away? You're joking me. Good. That's the direction I think we should be following. Yeah, keep... you know, that might be a... yeah, better. Keep going. No. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh. So that was Season 2, Episode 2, Rhaenyra the Cruel. That was a very, very packed episode. A lot more happened than I thought it would. But I guess that's what happens when you have an 8-episode season. So, there's just a lot to unpack. I think Eric and Eric was a real highlight for me. I was sort of dubious to see how they would end up adapting it, as obviously in Fire and Blood we have 2 accounts, one by Mushroom, and one I believe by either a Septon or a Maester, I forget which exactly. And they kind of have two different viewings. One that, you know, they just kind of fight to the death, denounce each other, kill each other within 2 seconds, and the other is that it's kind of like a whole thing of love, and they kind of fight each other to the death, and they declare their love for one another, and then they die. Which is obviously what the route we've gone down. I'm mainly curious as to who it was that impaled themselves, as I really think it could have been either of them. I think it would probably make more sense for it to be Eric, who I believe was on the side of Rhaenyra. I honestly get confused between the two, as a kind of sense of forgive me for ever allowing him into the castle, forgive me for the sins of my twin, and then killing himself. Although one could ultimately view it as also the other brother, Eric. It can really be interchanged as to which one it was that impaled themselves. Honestly, I'm somewhat curious to know if Mysaria did anything about it, because the way it was kind of left is that she could have been trying to send word up to the castle. Obviously, I don't think it reached there, or as he kind of... Although, actually, it may well have done, because we don't know why he entered Rhaenyra's chamber. So, perhaps. But, yeah, we don't know what went on there, but that was certainly interesting. The whole conflict and dynamic with Daemon, I think, again, there's this whole debacle of whether or not he did say to Blood and Cheese, you know, you can kill who you want, just make sure you kill someone. I don't think he would have outwardly said kill Jaehaerys. I don't think even Daemon would go that far. And again, to kind of draw attention to how George R.R. Martin has talked about Daemon, he's supposed to be a very, very morally grey character. I think having a morally grey character outwardly say, yes, I condone you murdering a child, takes away a lot from that kind of morally grey nature and makes it kind of more just, no, they're just evil. So I think that was interesting, the whole conflict there. I think it was to be expected. I personally am of the opinion that while Daemon at one point did lust for the throne, when he realised he wasn't going to get it, much like Rhaenys, he kind of accepted that and then was loyal to Rhaenyra. I don't think he's necessarily pursuing his own ends. I think he is genuinely loyal to her, and I think we'll see that more in the seasons to come, and especially with some further events in Fire and Blood that I won't discuss because they are major spoilers. But yeah, that was again fantastic. Criston Cole, I mean, I didn't think it was genuinely possible for me to hate the man more than I already do, but come on, you were caught doing the nasty with the Queen rather than guarding them, then you had the audacity to place it on another member of the King's Guard as their fault and send them essentially to a mission that's most likely going to rely on their, or like turn into their death. Whether or not Criston acted alone in the planning of sending one of the Cargill twins over is where I'm more interested, because Aegon kind of said, oh yeah, it was Criston's idea and he did it. I don't think Aegon is necessarily the type to just allow decisions to be made without his approval. Yet again, maybe he did. Otto Hightower, again, I think Otto, well, the Hightowers of his house, because I don't think it's Otto acting alone. The way he talked about it is we're stronger in Old Town, is that I think this is a Hightower conspiracy, and there are a lot of theories within the Song of Ice and Fire kind of dictating, oh, you know, the Maesters were trying to bring down the Targaryen dynasty for so many years because they were too powerful with their dragons and they didn't like that. And that's been a pretty prevailing theory. I think the Dragon Pit was an example, given that the Maesters tried to influence them into trying to make the dragons smaller, less powerful, with the dragons not being able to roam around as free and be as free, they can't grow and be to their kind of full extent of powers. We never really see a dragon that kind of size since Vega. All the dragons since have been stunted almost in growth, which is, again, a prevailing theory. But to see him literally go in and just essentially lose being hand in about 5 seconds flat was... Well, it was pretty entertaining, as I do despise him. But it was kind of funny, interesting at the same time, because you knew that Otto was right in what he was saying, in the sense that Aegon shouldn't have done that, because essentially what they've just done is they've had this whole outcry of, look, pity us, Rhaenyra just did this, Rhaenyra the Cruel. And then you've got Aegon killing a bunch of... Well, we know that he did actually end up killing one of the guilty parties, so there is that. But you ended up just having all of the Ratcatcher's innocent men killed, and displaying their bodies. If anything, you know, hide them away or dispose of them discreetly. Don't just go, yep, here we are, we did this. But remember, Rhaenyra's the bad one. That we didn't do anything. Helaena, I wish we got more time with her this episode, but it was really devastating to see the effect it had on her. I think a lot of complaints that some fans had after seeing Blood and Cheese was that they felt that Fia Sabian didn't do, and that's the actress that plays Helaena, didn't do necessarily an amazing job at displaying how much this has affected Helaena. But I figured that in the moment her reaction kind of makes sense, and looking on at this episode, I think we're really going to see how much this affects Helaena going forward in the season, as even in just the day after, they've managed to just show such a strong emotion of just absolute despair and depression, and seeing that kind of spiral more is really going to be interesting. And honestly, I think they did such a good job with the castings for all the characters, but I think Fia is really going to show how good of an actress she is through Helena's kind of spiral. Alicent and Kristen, to begin with, and I'm not going to say I understand it, because I think it's very hypocritical of Alicent to go from this whole, the honour and duty must prevail, Rhaenyra is so unseemly for what she did at court, and then to just be doing that with Kristen is pretty hypocritical. But it's understandable in the sense that she was forced into marrying Viserys into a kind of, I don't want to say loveless relationship, but certainly that lacks the passion of and kind of pleasure, so to speak, of a regular one. So I can understand her pursuing her own kind of ends to get that, especially with Sir Criston Cole. And I can understand that whole reason behind that relationship existing. However, after Blood and Cheese, the fact that they still went back to it is just mind-boggling, honestly. And again, brings me back to the whole thing of just, I absolutely deplore Criston Cole. And we did also, and again, to move on, we got a really good scene with Baelor and Jace. I'm really hoping we see some more of their kind of dynamic, as we didn't really get much of Rhaenyra and Luke. Obviously that got cut short a bit in season 1. So I'm a bit like, I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do there. One thing as well we did have confirmed, Daeron Targaryen. Now, Daeron is quite an involved character in the Dance and Fire and Blood, and I'm not going to go into spoilers as to what Daeron does. But he's a big use to Team Green. But whether or not Daeron existed was very much a point of contention after season 1, because you've got all these 3 children, and yet there's one missing. And obviously we now know he's in Old Town, and I think he was in Old Town during the books as well. But the fact there was no mention of him was a bit like, oh, okay. So, and obviously with the exclusion of Maelor, it was like, well, did they decide to include Daeron? Did they cut him out? As obviously there's been rumours that they've removed Nettles, which I in my view is probably an equally involved character as Daeron, if not maybe a little more, in my opinion. So I was honestly fully expecting him to just get cut from the show, but the fact that they're including him is really, really good and very interesting. What's also interesting is the fact that Macy Highgarden. So obviously Otto's been told to go to Highgarden, and Highgarden in Fire and Blood, and very, very quick spoiler warning, I believe they stay unanimous. They don't choose for either side due to the death of, I believe it was Lord Beesbury, that had some relation to the Tyrells. Lord Beesbury, for those that may need a little help remembering, was the member of the council that was killed in episode 9 of season 1 by Sir Criston Cole. And yeah, so I'm interested to see what that may involve. I honestly hope it also, if we're going to see Highgarden again, that they're at least going to do the Castle justice rather than the absolute show we got in Game of Thrones season 7, because that is not Highgarden. But anyway, yeah, all in all, really good episode. I'm really, really pleased with how they did Eric and Eric. Not to say that I was ever necessarily concerned with it, but yeah, House of the Dragon continues to show itself as one of the most amazing adaptations, and probably I think this season is going to be really, really strong on the most part. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that will be all for today's reaction. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I do apologize for the lateness of it. I literally did not manage to get down and watch the episode till today, the date of the video being uploaded, which is Tuesday, which obviously meant I was dodging spoilers like crazy. But yeah, the video is out now, and I apologize for the delay. Most will try and aim and get out on Monday, but yeah, anyway. But yeah, thank you all very, very, very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, have a good one.